What do you consider when you hear this Margaret Atwood quote? Men are afraid that women will laugh at them. Women are afraid that men will kill them.
I consider my father's anger and annoyance with me for being cautious around men I don't know. I still think about the time he told me that my anxiety controls my life when I asked him to stay home while selling something to a stranger from Craigslist. I wonder how many men resonate with him.
I think of a similar quote. What men are afraid of in prison, women are afraid of walking down the street.
That she is a sexist who generalizes real-world issues that exist and then have actual harm to men because it engenders a culture of fear and paranoia. Men are the only group where it's okay to say they are dangerous and you should fear them. You can't say the same about any other minority group and not be called out for being a bigot, and rightfully so. Men, however, it is okay to hate on and vilify for the actions of so few.
Considering women are taught from a young age to be more aware of their surroundings in case we are attacked, I think her quote is spot on. I had to explain to a personal trainer once why I couldn't listen to an audiobook while walking my dog. I needed to be fully aware in case someone were to follow me or attack me.
I walk in a few safe neighborhoods. I listen to stuff, but only in one ear, and the volume down low with my head on a swivel.
My daughter experienced a lot of the same social awkwardness I did when growing up. I found myself thinking about how, in some of the same situations, I could just ignore my bullies because I was physically bigger than them. She isn't. She's had to learn completely different strategies than me. Being a big guy comes with enormous privilege. We need to protect women when that privilege can help them.
As a man that's been abused by multiple women, I have a tough time with this one and get triggered at a lot of things about male privilege. I try to understand that I'm a less common case. Your fears should not be diminished. No one's fear should. You're more common than people would like to admit. We're not that alone, for better or worse.
My dad flew home because he was genuinely scared for his life from my mom. She abused him a lot. I see you.
The sharp drop of quality in Ask Reddit threads should be studied.
The time I called my ex-boyfriend a bitch and he said he wished he could beat me to death. I'm equally as afraid of being judged as a dangerous threat or creepy as I am of being made fun of. Both fears are disproportionate to the fear of being killed. Sad reality. I think it's an eye-opener for a lot of men. I remember being friends with a girl in high school who was just a year older. She told me about a stalker who pulled a knife on her. Wildly eye-opening. I was talking to two women once, and for some reason I brought up parking in the parking garage in front of our building, in a very safe neighborhood in the outskirts of Baltimore County. One responded, "Oh, hell no, parking garages are scary," to which the other agreed. I stopped and said, "Wait, parking garages?" Like it had never occurred to me that someone would be afraid in a parking garage before. I started asking more questions of the women in my life, and my eyes were really opened to fears of things I didn't think about and took for granted. Just one of the many things I woke up to learn.
It highlights the vastly different stakes men and women often experience in social interactions.
The difference between a bad night and a final night is terrifying to think about.
In college, a girl in my class was abducted and nearly killed by her then partner. She showed up to class bruised 2 days later and refused to show any fear until the teacher finally asked about it, which was wild, and she finally admitted to putting on a brave face. Hope she's all right.
With 4 sisters growing up in the 60s, I had an inkling of the dangers women face. But the older I get, and the more women open up to me about the subject, the more horrific the unrelenting threat of men becomes. Now I hear stories from daughters that chill me to the bone. Luckily, they've been able to avoid actual physical harm, but they have to be constantly aware of their surroundings, time of day, and vibe of men around them. And these 2 daughters are 5 feet 10 inches and 6 feet 0 inches, and capable of kicking some ass. As a man over 6 feet, I hate being perceived by strangers as a potential threat, but that's just realistic.
I think it's silly, it's overblown in most circumstances, and only engenders a culture of fear, which is extremely damaging. The issue I have with this quote is I've seen it brought out when a man makes any complaint about how a woman acted to minimize his feelings. Sure, she spread lies to ruin your reputation, but she's obviously scared you're going to kill her, so you can't complain about it. Like most things, context matters. Shoehorning a women's rights debate in any time a man tries to talk about his feelings being hurt is just being obstructive. More than one thing can be bad at a time.
As a man, I've never feared that a woman would hurt or kill me, but I do fear for my safety quite regularly at the hands of other men. I think the quote is spot on. Anyone can kill anyone, but the stats speak for themselves, and I am always more fearful of other men than I am of women. I guess men are statistically way less likely to be killed by women, so it checks out. That I hate being vilified and feared because of my gender. Just to be clear, I don't blame women for this, I blame the men who make it a necessity for women to think like this, because she's right. Thanks for your honesty. I feel the same way. It's hard to raise a boy today. I fear for him, and how he will have a hard time moving through life, when even a few of his gender-committing deviant acts can affect him and all of the good men. I think it's a way to disparage men's feelings and fears from people who, supposedly, often claim that they care about men expressing their emotions, but, at the end of the day, feel the need to rub it in your face that women have it worse. Also, while it is true that women are more likely to be killed, it is still a very unlikely outcome, far less likely than being laughed at. This attitude is pretty idiotic in general, because there are always people who have it worse, so what? You're gonna tell me that I can't complain about bad food at a restaurant because children in Africa are starving? Same dumb logic. It's such a spotlight, in my opinion, on how we bring up boys and girls differently, and what things we teach them to value. Young men are taught that how they act around women and how much they score is somehow defining of their masculinity. Young men's mental health is completely ignored, and worse yet, they are taught that a good woman can set them straight. A lot of societies simply don't know or care enough about their young men and women. I consider the fact that the most likely cause of death in pregnant women is murder, and the fact that men are more likely to be killed by enemies, whereas women are more likely to be killed by their loved ones.
Anyone can make an anecdote, but the most likely cause of death is a terrifying statistic.
Greater than I consider the fact that the most likely cause of death in pregnant women is murder. This is not true for white women. It is so prevalent for black women that it holds true when you consider all women. But by not acknowledging that this is an issue black women face, white women are culturally appropriating black women's trauma.
Men are about 50% as likely to be killed by their loved ones as women. The difference is just that men are massively more likely to be murder victims overall. Women are statistically far safer and far less likely to be murdered by men. So much so that the only people who can even get close enough to be able to murder them are the people they let into their lives. Not saying that women being murdered by their partner is not a problem, it absolutely is, and it is terrifying when you look at it in a vacuum. But when you compare it to the fact that men are 4 times more likely to be murdered, then it's important to keep things in perspective.
I consider how many men behave violently when they believe they are being rejected, wronged, or disrespected. That women are still told to smile, but smiling is also an invitation. It's friendly, but also flirting. You're leading them on, but also don't be a bitch. That no matter what you decide to do, you are at risk of violence. And it reminds me that Renee Good got shot in the face for telling a man she wasn't mad at him while smiling.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. It really helps. Subscribe for more, and tap the bell so you don't miss the next one.